Hi, here's some notes for chapter 3, which is on histogram. Suppose that we have a distribution of weekly income for a group of part-time employees of a company, and say that, for example, 30% of these employees make between $0 and $100 a week, and another 30% make between $100 and $200 a week. And finally, 40% of the employees make between $300 and $700 a week, and we have this representation of the histogram of this distribution. And you might notice that this is not an accurate depiction of this distribution. Notice it looks like a majority of the people fall in this category, right, between 300 and 700. Just based on the area of these rectangles. But in fact, only 40% of the employees fall in this category. So we know that if you were to plot the height as a percent, then we notice that can throw off the pictorial representation of the data. And the problem with this is that this interval is a lot longer than these interval, and plotting percent kind of skew it towards that distribution. The correct way to do this is it's actually to make this shorter, and the question is, what should be the appropriate height? Well, let's make this down to 10%. So I claim that this is the accurate depiction of our data. In other words, 30% fall in this category, another 30% fall in this category, and here it should be 40%, and so I have the height here as 10, and notice on the left side here, the y-axis is percent per 100. So the height here is 10% per 100, and this class interval is 400. So to find the area of this rectangle, you take 4 and multiply by 10% per 100. That will give you 40%. So that this is 40%, this is 30%, and this is 30%. And the histograms show the true distribution. As a final example, let's do one more. Suppose we have the following histogram. Let's try to figure out what percentage of employees fall in each of these categories. So for example, in this first bar here, this is again percent per 100, so this is 20% per $100. Because this class interval is $1, that means this bar represents 20% of the employees. So I'm gonna put that here. Sorry about that. Let's see, I can drag it down here. So here this should be 20%. And in this bar graph, we have 10% per 100, and this class interval is 100, so therefore this is 10%. So 10% of the employees fall in this category. And finally, in this category, notice that this class interval is 200, and the height here is 30% per 100, because it's 30% per 100, and this is 200. That means that this is 60% of the employee. And finally, in this category, this is 5% per 100, and the class interval is 200, so therefore this should be 10%. So we put that here. So So notice, right? 20% plus 10%, that's 30%, plus 60%, that's 90%, plus 10%, that's 100%. So that this is all the employees, and notice that each of these bar represent a percentage. The area of each rectangle is a percentage, and this is the accurate depiction of the data. And that concludes the lecture notes for chapter 3. Again, as a reminder that chapter 3 you should be reading chapter 3 very carefully from the textbook. These notes are only meant to supplement your reading. Thank you.